Hi, welcome back to a new screen recording video. Today I'm going to be sharing my new report, research, and POV, I guess, on AI SLOP. This is almost ready, but I always like to leave a little bit of time just if I have little ideas that I want to add before I just publish it. But so maybe by doing this video, I'll get new little stuff that I want to edit or add. This came about as AI slop is becoming more and more of a buzzword. Last year it was word of the year. So yeah, I was just really thinking about it from a creative perspective. Anyways, this is our beautiful cover with this beautiful slop. So my research, these are like the two main questions I ask myself and like problematics that I use to frame it, because it can mean so many things and that's not what I was trying to do. So how can AI slop evolve into an intentional and culturally valued aesthetic? I think valued is the key word here. In what ways might the visual language of Gen AI become a symbolic marker of the mid 2020s? So yeah, the content in here will be all about the supposed upcoming aesthetics of AI creativity. I've done this research thanks to a few people as well that I cited here. You'll see their sort of feature through the reports, but they really helped me because some of them are actual artists that are creating with AI and are much more knowledgeable than I am about being hands-on with it and in the execution part. So I love their contribution and a lot of food for thought. So let's go through it. Obviously, I'm not gonna read literally everything, but just kind of walk you through and give my spoken explanation. I create so it purposely looks like AI. I guess this is my argument in a visual meme form. Yeah, to start with, obviously, what am I trying to say or what am I trying to understand and kind of prove? Obviously, this is a hypothesis, an argument. But the idea is to say, can AI slop become this intentional aesthetic or aesthetics in plural, something that maybe in the near future or in a decade, people are going to be like, oh, it's so AI slop, like, as in it's cool. Or imagine people in a room developing a campaign or even, I don't know, a fashion show, and they'll be like, oh, what's the inspo, like 2025 AI slop? That's the argument. And it's obviously you have the aesthetic, but we also need to consider a little bit, or that's what I did, the narrative layer. So things like brain rot, which was huge last year with the lores and, Italian brain rot, all of that, which also brought an AI slop aesthetic, which I feel is like the most famous one, and the one that is considered AI slop. Absolutely not the image that I put here, but imagine the shark and cappuccino, all of them. And so obviously I didn't just randomly come up with this. It's kind of like history suggests that technologies initially criticized for their artificiality often later become aestheticized. So this research is arguing that that will happen with AI slop. It could happen with AI slop. And whatever we mean by AI slop, which is also the purpose of the research, the report. So slop or AI slop is considered sort of a cultural failure. Here I put a few associations like lack of authorship, absence of taste. I think that's like the biggest one. Content farming, platform spam, cultural dilution, because it's so pushed into us as consumers. Like, go and use it. Like, it needs to be part of your life. I guess a lot through the agents, but a lot of it is also about creating visuals and like content. But at the same time, you'll have like big social media platforms that are saying, no, we don't, like, we're trying to protect our users from the slop, which is sort of contradicting. I read that on a YouTube report from one of their like VP or whatever person. So that's sort of where we're at, the state of AI slop. Here is randomly my sort of findings of the visual aesthetics or visual systems almost of AI creativity, which I'm using AI slop to call it, but maybe we could say it's not the slop then because it's good, maybe. I don't know. I gave them names, so there's like a few things. I have it in my January Transcope report on Substack, but you have Bling Absurd, which is like the top one. These are TikTok videos, by the way. And we have Trap Worlds. That's cats basically in random situations that cats couldn't be in reality with like trap music. I don't know, it's a vibe. And edgy maxing. This is like, it's like artistic, contemporary, surreal, a little bit visual art. I don't know, that's how I sort of interpret it. And yeah, so these are three AI Gen related styles I spotted in early 2026. I don't know if I framed this properly, but yeah, this is just an observation. Mockery to style, how I think, or I'm trying to understand how AI slop could go from mockery to style. And here I'm basically referencing back to like early CGI, VHS like filter, which is now just a thing, low res, web graphics, all of that. So could the AI slop basically become this? I thought it was important to define AI veneer, which is more just the look, the filter. The first time I heard of this term was from this girl on Substack that I'm sort of exchanging with through Substack, like comments and stuff. I had posted in like December on Substack just a note saying, oh, I'm starting this research on AI slop, like, is anyone interested, like reach out to her, whatever. And she commented and she was like, oh yeah, like AI veneer is quite like interesting, like that filter, that everything that's made with AI. And I was like, oh, that's the term. So I don't know if she coined this, but we'll say it's her. And so I think it's important to define it as part of this analysis or just have it in mind. And how she sort of defined it is AI veneer refers to the thin, recognizable layer of artificiality that overlays AI visual content. It is the visible presence of the machine in the image, the smoothness, symmetry, exaggeration, and soulless look. I can't say that word, but that's like exactly that. Here I put a few examples and like I think there's a spectrum of it. So I think the girls at the bottom left are like the stereotype of like an AI image. Like I feel like we've evolved already from that to maybe like what's more on the right of the page. Then I thought, but I also need to define AI slop, which is important because again, I feel like it's been used in so many different contexts or to mean different things. So this is the common definition of AI slop. I took this from Google. AI slop refers to low quality, high volume, often inaccurate digital content produced by generative AI with little human oversight. That's a very important element because I feel like my AI slop that I'm saying might become an aesthetic does definitely have human oversight and human taste and like direction. But, anyways, however, for the sake of this argument, I'm broadening the definition to all current Gen AI creative. So, Coca-Cola Gen AI Christmas campaign is an example. Taylor Swift, The Life of a Showgirl album teasers videos that she did with AI is another example. These were highly controversial. That's not my point here, but just noting. Here comes our first contributor feature. So these guys, Jacob and Alex, are super cool. They kind of go under the name Intelligence Matters, and I found them through Substack, of course. And they're just so interesting. And first, I kind of connected because of some article they posted, and then I realized they create a lot of AI art. So I had to reach out for this report. And they were so nice to literally share all their research on AI SLOP because they were also researching on it. So I really, really appreciate that. And I feel like this that they created is so good. There is much more to their research, but this is what I sort of picked that I thought was relevant in this context of my sort of angle. But I love that they did this like anatomy of slop. So they're basically like taking all the layers of the typical AI slop image, analyzing how it's constructed. And then the second one is the slop cycle. Love this too. I feel like how they presented it and they did this like framework and visual explanation, it's like so easy to sort of make sense of it or like frame it, which is why I was really interested in like sharing this. They really came up with like a logic. That logic might change, it might evolve, but like for this moment in time, these guys have like a POV and a logic and they made sense of it, of AI slop. So I really like that. And also go check their work because they actually make very cool, nice AI imagery. So, back to sort of my argument and research from accidental output to intentional creation. I like accidental, intentional output creation, that sort of journey. So, here, what I'm trying to say is that AI as like the creative tool has evolved already, even though for some people it's sort of new for now, but it's been a little while. So it has evolved and a lot has or is maybe shifting just right now, transitioning from accidental, the tools weren't so good. So you would just do stuff and it will just give you something random and you had like little direction maybe, and now it's moving or it's moved to a more intentional way to use it. So you have your vision and you're maybe more able to execute this vision that you have in your head through the tool. And so here I'm saying this might mark like a bit of a transition. So from bot generated randomness to human directed imagination. Like imagination is such an interesting topic also within this. It's like some people are arguing that it's limiting our imagination, but you could also argue that it's like making, like giving us the possibility of making our imagination real. Anyways, a bit philosophical. From isolated images to interconnected lore systems, this is so interesting. Could be a whole other piece on this. And I guess you could take Italian brain rot as the biggest example, but like they're becoming narratives, they're becoming stories. It's not just, yeah, these like random images like, oh, we need a girl eating bread, let's make AI. Like, no, it's sort of bigger than that. The creative that's coming out of it or the people that are behind. Anyways, my thought doesn't go further than that, but there's something there. From surface novelty to world building. To I also got the chance to have this amazing interview or like over the phone chat with Tom. He is a musician, an artist. He does a lot of things, but he also happens to be like doing stuff with AI. I think he said since like the pandemic, so what, 5 6 years. So I was so happy to speak with someone like that because obviously he'll have a more like in-depth understanding and like because he's been doing it for quite actually a long time, like his view must be like quite interesting. So he told me a lot of things, and one thing that I highlighted here that I thought was interesting, he was like, I already miss the early AI looks. And I was like, oh my God, that's basically what I'm trying to say, but like with the right now. But he's so in this that he's already like missing how it used to be. So yeah, we talked about like how AI slop is like highly criticized. In fact, it was so funny because we talked on the phone for like an hour or whatever. And then in the evening, he just sent me this image of this was going on TV. He also had an interesting point talking about early like CGI and like the success of Toy Story. So kind of drawing the parallel with where we're at now with AI, if a story like that could happen. So yeah, super interesting conversation. Go check his work as well. He's done this whole project for the Rolling Stones. So yeah, really cool person. Continuing into my research, I kind of was like, there is sort of a pattern here in terms of the style and the aesthetic, which is what I'm talking about and focusing on. So I thought maybe there's a stylistic movement in the making, which we're not really seeing that way right now, but we might end up seeing this way. So I think it's towards surrealism, a new type of surrealism, but I do think the AI slop does align with like some surrealist traditions. If you look at like painting and art and so on. I just call it techno surrealism, but I don't know. There might be another name. So AI slop may come to represent the first mass phase of generative AI. For sure it will. Will it be something big and memorable? That's what I'm kind of thinking about. The end. Stay tuned for when this whole report is out. I might publish this video when the report is out. I don't know. I'm just recording it kind of in advance. But yeah, if you have like any opinions about this or you work in this, reach out. I'd love to hear from you.